Hello and welcome to Cruise 118. I'm John Cooper.
And I'm Karen Worrall.
And today we're going to be taking you to a fascinating part of the Americas.
Yes, today we're taking you to one of the most interesting cruise itineraries in the world, the Panama Canal. I worked on cruise ships for 15 years and was lucky enough to transit the famous Panama Canal 26 times during 4 seasons there.
Well, today we also have 3 great cruise deals with cruise lines that are fantastic for sailing through the Panama Canal. We're talking about Celebrity Cruises, Princess Cruises and Holland America Line.
And I'm going to give you some of the highlights of what to do and see in the tropical Panama Canal itinerary ports of Panama City, Colón, Punta Arenas and Puerto Limón in Costa Rica, Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua, and of course tell you about the story behind and what it's like to sail through the Panama Canal itself. So let's take a look at what it's like to cruise in. Now, the Panama Canal is a destination best experienced by ship to explore the diverse surroundings there. And it's one of the greatest engineering feats of mankind, opened in 1914. Now, you can choose an East Coast, coast-to-coast trip where you go through the Gatun locks, go to Cartagena in Colombia, or you can go to a coast-to-coast sailing going all the way through, including going to San Juan del Sur. You go through the Agua Clara locks and the Pedro Miguel locks as well. And this way you see more places. You'll stop in Panama Canal City, Punta Arenas in Costa Rica. There are fantastic shore excursions you can say here. Get out into the wildlife. Go to places like the Scarlet Macaw Sanctuary and the Sloth Sanctuary, which is one of my favorites. You'll see UNESCO designated cities, lots of historical sites, great archaeology, and learn all about the areas. And also there's enriching events on board where you can see the history, you can learn about the music and the culture of Panama Canal and Panama City itself too. And experts will give you tips on the locks. Now, some of my tips here is to go out and see the old and new cities. The old city is full of history and historic buildings, while the new city of Panama is bustling and has great museums such as the Bio Museum, which is all about the biodiversity of Panama. In Cartagena, enjoy the old town, wandering through it, or even better, take a walking tour to learn about its stories. In San Juan del Sur, you can relax or surf at the stunning beaches or take a tour to historic Granada. Now in Puerto Vallarta, stroll along the boardwalk called the Malecón and admire the statues and the sea view. Now my main tip on a Panama Canal cruise is to get up early and see the ship going into and through the locks. This is one of those once in a lifetime sort of cruise experiences to go on. So go to bed early and make use of being able to nap in the afternoon to catch up, and go out on deck, whether that's on your balcony or on the main deck. Now, there are fascinating ports to see in this area, but the star of the show is undoubtedly sailing through the canal itself. Now, let's learn a little more about the Panama Canal. Let's take a look. Now, the Panama Canal revolutionized trade, transport and travel, allowing transport cargo ships and cruise ships to go from one side of the Central America to the other without having to sail all the way around South America, thus saving nearly 8,000 miles of sailing around Cape Horn. Now, to date, it's been crossed by more than 1 million vessels, with the millionth crossing in 2010. Now, in 2016, the new locks and new canal was built, and locks were created to accommodate larger cruise and container ships that we have nowadays. And the new canal is 3 times wider than the original ones. Now, overall, you travel east to west from the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans when you go through the canal. However, the way that you enter the canal and the angle it goes in means you're actually going further up, so you actually come in near the west and snake round towards the east and back. And so most of the time ships are traveling through the canal, they're actually going towards the east, which means you're heading southeast as you head into the Miraflores locks. Now, ships go through the Pedro Miguel locks into the Miraflores Lake, then they go into the Miraflores locks and leave the lake. Water enters the locks and the ship goes in, the lock closes behind the ship and water is released, and then the water level has gone down by 15 meters, then your ship moves on. Now, as you go through the locks, look out the side of the ship to see what's happening. Look out from your balcony if you've got one. Both sides of the ship are equally good for this. Or go out on deck. I would suggest getting as close to the bow of the ship as you can, the highest part of the ship at the front. Now, you get the best views from there, and you can switch from side to side in case you see anything in particular, like a village or some wildlife. Now, another angle to see how close the ship is to the side of the canal is to get as low as you can on the ship and look out of a window or porthole to see the ship being right next to the locks. There are pilot vehicles that look like small trains at the side of the canal. They look like they're pulling the ship through, but they're not physically pulling it, but they are guiding it, controlling the navigation of the ship through, since it's such a tight squeeze normally. Now, all ships that go through the canal have to use the local pilots to guide them, just like they need to use a pilot boat when sailing in the water. Now, as you sail through the canal, look out for the new Centennial Bridge. It's 1,000 feet across and sits 80 feet above water level. It has 6 lanes of traffic on it to make it easy for transport in the area. Now, after you go through there, that celebrates 100 years of the Panama Canal. You reach the entrances to the 2 canals here. Now, the original locks are on the left and the new ones are on the right. So my tips for this: the canal itself was opened in 1914, but the idea to build it was first documented in 1513, when Spanish explorer Vasquez Núñez de Balboa was the first European to discover that the Isthmus of Panama was just a slim land bridge separating the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans between North and South America. But a survey thought this was impossible to do. But Balboa is honoured with a district of Panama City and some monuments, and even the Panamanian currency being named after him. And the developments he made there. Now, several attempts have been made since to create a canal, including the infamous attempt in 1881 by a French company headed by Ferdinand de Lesseps, who developed the Suez Canal in Egypt. He began digging across Panama, trying to build it at sea level without any locks, so it didn't work. And the engineering issues, the poor planning and tropical diseases killed approximately 20,000 workers who excavated more than 70 million cubic yards of earth for the canal. Now, Gustave Eiffel was later brought in to design the locks. That's Eiffel of Eiffel Tower fame, but the company went bankrupt in 1889 after $260 million was put into it. So it would cause quite a scandal. And the leaders were fined, disgraced, convicted and sentenced to prison, but the sentences were overturned. So the US had been wanting to build a canal linking the seas for military and economic reasons throughout the 1800s. After the French attempt failed, being involved in helping Panama gain independence from Colombia, the US secured rights to a 500 square mile canal zone. Now, they had the right to control it in perpetuity, but they gave control back to Panama in 1999. They paid $375 million to build the canal, including $10 million to Panama and $40 million to buy the French assets. Now, the canal was completed, it was done from 1904 to 1913, and that incurred about 5,600 deaths due to disease and accidents, taking the death toll to more than 25,000. So it was overall lower in the American phase of building the canal because of medical advancements in the early 1900s. By then we knew what mosquitoes did. They spread yellow fever and malaria, and so they took preventative measures to keep the mosquitoes away. Now, the financial investment was certainly worth it, as around 15,000 ships transit the canal annually. Each vessel pays a toll based by its size and cargo volume. Now, the smallest toll ever paid was 36 cents in 1928 when American adventurer Richard Halliburton swam through it. It's not possible nowadays. And the largest fee is around $450,000. Around $1.8 billion, 1.5 billion pounds, is taken annually in tolls now, and the ships take around 8 hours to pass through the canal, with the locks raising each ship 85 feet above sea level, as the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are not quite at the same level.
Wow, that was fascinating. It really was an engineering marvel.
Yeah, it is, John. It's very impressive.
Well, that seemed like a great time to have a look at our first deal. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, our first deal is with Princess Cruises on the Island Princess, going on a full Panama Canal transit from Los Angeles in California all the way to Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So let's take a look at the ship.
So the Island Princess is the perfect place to relax and rejuvenate while you're sailing to some gorgeous tropical destinations. Treat yourself to a massage or enjoy the adult-only top retreat deck, the Sanctuary. The full-service spa relaxes and refreshes you, while the fitness centre is there if you want to keep fit, using the full gym or joining one of the classes. Now, Princess has the duty-free shopping with jewellery, liquor and branded items, and the top deck freshwater pools help you cool down, and the hot tubs can soak your muscles after a long day of adventures ashore. Now, the Island Princess has wonderful staterooms for everyone to enjoy, from interior to balcony to mini suite. You've got great views with them. You've got the club class mini suites as well. well, where you enjoy premium locations and benefits. Now, they're connecting rooms for families as well. So if you are here with a family, then you can do that. So it's very easy to go back and forth. They also have great accessible rooms too. And all of the staterooms have the Princess Luxury Bed, which is dubbed the best bed at sea by Cruise Critic. Plus there's engaging entertainment in the theatre with Broadway calibre shows, fantastic guest entertainers. Plus you can even be part of the entertainment in game shows, including The Voice of the Ocean. There's something for everyone, and with all this plus various genres of music all around the ship, that means that you will never be bored. So make sure you check out the daily programme to see what's happening around the ship, and go and check out whatever you feel like seeing.
Well, that looks absolutely wonderful. So let's take a look at the itinerary, shall we? We're going to fly you from the UK out to Los Angeles, where we're going to overnight you in Los Angeles in a lovely 4-star hotel before you join the ship the following day. Then we've got 2 wonderful relaxing sea days, so you've got plenty of time to relax and enjoy that before we get to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. Lovely. And then another day at sea, and then we go into a lovely port called Huatulco in Mexico. And once again, we're going to send you full details before you go anywhere, so you know you'll get it all the details. Then we're into San Juan del Sur, once again a place to relax, enjoy, maybe a beach day if you want to do that. And then we're into Puerto Arenas in Costa Rica, which is a lovely place, once again fascinating. Another day at sea, and then we're off to Fuerteventura, which is lovely in Panama, and it's just a lovely place to just look around. Once again, we'll send you full details of all the excursions and what have you before you go. Then went to Cartagena in Colombia, which is once again so different. All these ports of call are very, very different. Then we've got a couple of days at sea, and we're into Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and that's where it all comes to an end. We take you to the airport and you fly back to the UK. I tell you what, let's have a look at the details so we can get you involved in this. First of all, what I would say is the QR code on the bottom right hand side. Give that a bit of a scan right now with your phone. It'll take you straight to the details. If you've got any questions and maybe you want some extra days before you start the cruise or extra days after the cruise, we can add them on as well. 0808 2585 118. That's 0808 2585 118. Just give us a call and our cruise experts will get you involved in the action.
So that gives you a little bit more about the background on Panama Canal. So let's take a look now at where you can go. Now, the Panama Canal is an incredible feat of human engineering. It took thousands of workers to complete it, many of whom lost their lives doing so. The locks are 110 feet wide and 1,000 feet long, and about 30 million pounds of explosives were used to help clear the land for the canal. The Panama Canal cuts through almost 51 miles of jungle, stone and mountain in Central America to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. And the Panama Canal itinerary has way more than just the canal though. There's stunning beaches, lush rainforests, brightly coloured towns that are hundreds of years old, varied wildlife and fascinating native cultures. The ingenious lock system uses gravity and water displacement to move the ships through the world's greatest shortcut, going from the Pacific Ocean through the Miraflores locks into the Pedro Miguel locks, Lake Gatun, which was created for the canal, and into the Gatun locks and out into the Atlantic Ocean, or the other way around. And this shortcut has saved ships nearly 8,000 miles of travel for more than a century, so it's easy to see why the canal has been popular for trade and travel. Now, Princess Cruises have been sailing there since 1967, and it's fascinating watching the huge gates close when you see water pouring through the locks, and watching your ship be raised is truly impressive. Now, there are 2 main ways to cruise the Panama Canal. Taking a partial transit takes a trip from Fort Lauderdale through the Gatun locks and back into the Gatun Lake before turning back into the Caribbean Sea. Now you can see this here. And this option shows you the canal from the Atlantic side, stopping in some of the fantastic ports as well in the Caribbean, as you can see here, including Grand Cayman, in the Cayman Islands, Aruba, Cartagena, Puerto Limon. So we have Cartagena is a World UNESCO designated heritage site, which is a beautiful place to see. We've got Oranjestad in Aruba, which is one happy island, and it's got Dutch colonial style buildings as well. We've got Ocho Rios in Jamaica, where you can head out to Dunn's River Falls. vehicles. In Puerto Limon in Costa Rica, you can experience the rainforest by aerial, tram or zip line if you're feeling adventurous, or go to the sloth sanctuary. Now here you can see you can take a full transit as well, where you're ferried through all three sets of locks, the Gatun, Pedro Miguel and Miraflores locks. You can choose from cruises that start from Fort Lauderdale or San Diego, Los Angeles and even Vancouver. Doing the full transit means you can explore the exciting ports on the Pacific coast as well as on the Atlantic side, including meeting the wildlife. And in Fuerte Amador, you can check out the wonderful Soberania National Park, or you can head out to Panama City, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has interesting museums, and you can also head out into the jungle to go to the Indian Imbera village as well, if you want to learn about seeing their culture and ceremonial dances. There are dramatic coastlines and rainforests in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. You can go kayaking, or you can even go whale watching as well. From Cabo San Lucas is a great place to do that. It's one of my favorite ports there too. And you can get involved. This won't be just a holiday. This will be an experience that stays with you in your heart forever.
Well, that looks a fascinating area, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So now we've had a look at some of the things to do ashore. Let's look at what special things are on board on a Panama Canal cruise. Let's take a look at that. Now, your experiences of Latin America don't just happen when you're ashore, they happen on board too. Princess Cruises and other lines also offer Latin American cultural programs on board, so you can learn about the culture, music, people and food of the destinations you're visiting right from the ship. You'll see authentic folkloric shows and music performances, plus have local food from all over Latin America, such as ceviche, marinated seafood, empanadas, which are filled pies, elote, which is dressed corn on the cob, and tres leches, which is 3 milk cake. Now, on Panama Canal Cruises, historians and canal experts come on board to give talks, presentations and chat with guests around the ship about the history of the Panama Canal. Now, cruising the canal and ports around it is a fantastic journey and adventure. You'll see vibrant historic histories and cities and lush landscapes, relax on soft, lovely beaches, and best of all, transit through the wonder that is the Panama Canal itself. Now, my top tip there is to go to the talks when they're on. They are absolutely fascinating, and you will get commentary on what's happening there. You'll see what's happening in real time and learn all about the history and the culture of the area. And go to a cooking class if you see one of those too. Okay, that sounds like a good time for another deal. What do you think, John?
Well, yeah, I think it looks great. Now then, with our new deal, we're going out today with Celebrity Cruises on the Celebrity Millennium, sailing a full transit of the Panama Canal from Fort Lauderdale to Los Angeles. Now, this is going on the 21st of April 2023 for 15 nights. So let's take a look on board.
So Celebrity is well known for their incredible food, so we'll take a look at some of the fantastic restaurants on board Celebrity Millennium. The ship's main restaurant is the Metropolitan, which spans 2 floors and has an impressive tower of wine. The international menu changes daily with a mix of contemporary and classic dishes and was created by Michelin star chefs. Now, the Ocean View Cafe is a casual option for breakfast, lunch and dinner, with multiple dishes to choose from, pizza and pasta stations, plus a large dessert section. Now, if you like barbecue favourites like grilled burgers and hot dogs, head to the Mast Grill, which is just by the pool. Now, the Spa Cafe offers healthy fare as well, if you like smoothies and salads. And if you'd like to have a special evening to celebrate a birthday or anniversary, then you can dine at one of the specialty restaurants on board as well if you like. So yeah, you've got the choice of your casual dining, something a little bit fancier, something a little bit healthier at the Spa Cafe if that's what you're in the mood for. They do make very nice smoothies indeed. So there is lots of choice there, and so you will never go hungry. So specialty dining, let's take a look at some of those. Now, some of the best things to do on board, some best places to eat. We've got different places you can choose from. If it is your birthday, anniversary, if you like Italian food, head to the Tuscan Grill. You can have steaks and also wonderful Italian food there. It's a very nice sort of steakhouse atmosphere, very relaxed but also classy and classic too. If you like sushi or sashimi, head to Sushi on 5. It tastes just as good as it looks. I'm a big fan of Japanese food, so that would definitely be one of my picks while I'm there. and everything's very fresh. And you've got the Le Petit Chef at Cuisine as well. It's a very unique dining experience. Not only do you get the delicious food to eat, but you see it in an animated feature on your plate in front of you. So you see this little real, the fake chef making it as your real chef prepares your meal.
Well, it looks like she's a wonderful ship. So let's take a look at the itinerary, shall we? We're going to fly you from the UK out to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we're going to overnight you before you join the cruise. So you're all relaxed and ready. And then we're going to cruise out. We've got 2 days at sea before we get to Cartagena in Colombia, which is absolutely amazing to see. You're going to really enjoy that. And then we're off to Panama, Colón in Panama, which is absolutely lovely. Once again, relaxing, colonial, and a very enjoyable 2 days at sea, and then went to Puerto Arenas, rather, in Costa Rica. Once again, lovely for the beaches. If you just want to relax and take it in, you're going to really love it. Then we've got 2 days at sea before we get to Puerto Quetzal in Guatemala. Absolutely stunning here. And then another 2 days at sea before we get to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. You know, if you like your Mexican food, this is the place to really enjoy it. And then we've got a couple of days at sea before we end up in Los Angeles, California. And that's when it all sadly comes to an end and we fly back to the UK. Now, if you want to add days at the beginning in Fort Lauderdale or at the end in LA, just give us a call and we can do that. But let's have a look at the deal right now, shall we? So we can get you involved. If you want to get your phone out now, scan the QR code there on the bottom right hand side. That takes it right to the deal. Takes you right to the deal. Or, of course, give our team a call. Our experts are standing by right now. 0808 2585 118. This cruise has got your name written all over it.
Now that was a great deal, John.
Was.
Very nice. Now let's take a look at some things you can do in Colón in Panama. Now, taking an authentic expedition to an Embera village in Panama is a fantastic way to learn about the culture and lives of Panama's native people and how they've kept their ancient traditions alive. The villages are very friendly and welcoming, and it's a pleasure and honour to meet people who live in a way so different than most of us in the Western modern world. Now, another way to see Panama is to go and immerse yourself on the monkey and eco tour in Colón as well. Now, a tour boat takes you out into the jungle to sail along the river and see wildlife up close. There's 3 types of monkeys in Panama, which you'll see if you're lucky, or you might hear them: the howler monkeys, white-faced capuchins, and the tamarins. Now, it's wonderful to see them in their natural habitat as well as the tropical birds. Now, the Gatun Lake Kayak and Eco Adventure is a great way to get closer to the water and wildlife. And this way you can go out, experience paddling in the rainforest and seeing and hearing the call of the wild all around you. Or if you prefer your adventures higher up, you can head to the Gamboa Resort Aerial Tram to see wildlife such as sloths, butterflies, and various local flora and fauna from high up in the rainforest canopy. Now, my tip is, these are all great tours, but my favourite one is the Embera village, because I think it's a privilege to go and meet people who live in a way so different from us. Everyone's so friendly and it's just really interesting. You learn a lot. I've done that tour twice, so that would be my pick.
Well, that looks absolutely great. Okay, where are we off to next?
Well, next, John, we're off to Costa Rica. Now, Costa Rica means the rich coast. It's probably the world's leading country with eco tours. It hasn't been that rich financially, and some places have sold off land to make money when they realise that the land and landscape makes the country a truly rich coast. And so basically, eco tours are wonderful there. So let's take a look at some of these. Now, there are some wonderful eco tours to go and see here. In Punta Arenas, head out onto the Tarcoles River for an eco tour of epic proportions. You'll head out on a small local boat, and just a couple of feet above the water, you will get up and close to the largest congregation of American crocodiles in Central America. Around 2,000 crocs live in the Tarcoles, with an estimated 25 crocodiles per square mile from the start of the river in Carrara National Park. Now, the Jaguar Rescue Centre near Puerto Limon is a truly wonderful place to visit. It is a temporary or permanent home for the sick, injured, or orphaned animals who aren't able to survive in the wild, or they look after them until they are healed. There are jaguars, monkeys, sloths, other animals and mammals, as well as birds and reptiles. Now, the original canopy tour in Costa Rica is one of the best ways to see the rainforest and have fun if you're a thrill seeker at the same time. So my tips for that is if you like crocodiles like I do, then go out and see them in Costa Rica. It is really cool. And also if you're a fan of sloths, which I am, go to the Sloth Sanctuary in Puerto Limon. And you can also see them on, there's a documentary about them called Meet the Sloths, which is on lots of streaming services. So you can check that out beforehand. Now I think that's a good time for our final deal. What do you think?
It is, and our final deal today is on Holland America Line's Eurodam, sailing a partial transit of the Panama Canal from the east side on a round trip from Fort Lauderdale in Florida for 11 days, going on the 4th of January 2023.
Yep, and right before COVID hit, I was doing this itinerary on a Holland America ship, and I have to say it's a really great itinerary. The ports are really interesting. There's lots of things to do ashore and on board. And Holland America is known for their mid-sized ships, and they have some specialty dining options too. So let's take a look at some of the options on the Eurodam. So we'll start with the Canaletto, the Italian restaurant named after the famous Venetian artist. Canaletto is a menu of Italian family-style sharing dishes, but you don't have to share if you don't want to. Now the meal begins with antipasti that you can choose from, then you move on to grilled fish, meat or freshly made gnocchi and pasta dishes, and make sure you save room for dessert. I got married on a Hull ship and I had my wedding dinner in Canaletto, so I definitely recommend it. Now if you're a fan of classic steaks, seafood, delicious appetizers, crisp white linen tablecloths and great service, try the Pinnacle Grill. Having a delicious steak in your favourite cut cooked your way is a treat, as is the seafood as well. So there's definitely great things on the menu there, so make sure that you check that out. So now also there is the Tamarind restaurant. This one is my husband's favourite one. This wasn't on the ship we got married on. This is Pan-Asian cuisine. You have a dining experience with dishes including tasty dim sum, satisfying sushi and sashimi, crispy crab rangoon and Cantonese duck as well.
Well, that looks very tasty. Any recommendations of any dishes?
Of course, yes. We like to talk about food, John, now. So in Canaletto, my favourite is the seafood pasta and the cannoli for dessert. In Pinnacle Grill, try the clotheslined candied bacon for starters. It's bacon marinated in maple syrup for at least 24 hours. Served with pickles, it's delicious. And have a steak your way. And in Tamarind, the soft shell crab and the red coconut curry are my husband Nick's pick. They're very tasty as well.
Well, sounds great. Okay, let's have a look at where we're going to. We're going to fly you from the UK out to Fort Lauderdale. Now, we're going to overnight you there before you get on the ship. We're going to go on the ship and we're going to cruise out from Fort Lauderdale. And our first port of call is going to be Half Moon Cay, which is the private beach for Holland America Line in the Bahamas. Absolutely amazing. You'll be knocked out by it. Then we've got 2 days at sea before we're in Curacao. In Aruba. Aruba, once again, absolutely gorgeous. Then we're into Curacao, which is wonderful. 2 days at sea. And then we're into Cartagena, which is, once again, a lovely place. Lots of these ports are very, very different. That's Colombia. And then we're into Colón, which is in Panama. Absolutely an amazing place, very colonial. And, you just love looking around there as well. You're going to love it. And then we're off to Gatun Lake in Panama, which is just fantastic. You're going to see it all. And of course, this is, where you're going to see the history and everything like that. Then we're into Puerto Limon in Costa Rica. Absolutely gorgeous. Your chance to relax, enjoy and get some winter sunshine before we end up back in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we're going to fly you back to the UK. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let's have a look at the deal, shall we? So we can get you involved in this. And remember, there's the QR code there at the bottom for you to scan right now. And just scan that and it'll take you straight to the deal. Or give our team a call, 0808 2585 118, and they'll get you involved. So why should you book with us? Well, let's have a look at it, shall we? First of all, you get our best price guarantee. Just look on our website for that. We are the cruise experts. That's all we do. You're booking with confidence. We're Atoll and also apt to bonded. Look at our reviews online, and remember, when you book with us, you're booking with the world's largest cruise retailer.
So thanks for joining us this week as we've showed you some of the best ports in the Panama Canal.
And some of the best cruise deals as well there too. We'll see you again next week, but for now, thanks for watching and carry on cruising.
Hasta luego.